Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. It's our roundtable about hidden opportunities and updates for Walmart.com. And greatly appreciate you all spending the time to join us today, as this is the biggest topic on planet Earth, because as we know, Walmart is omni-channel. And I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever noticed, but when it comes to omni-channel, it gets a little bit accelerated and crazy. And with all these new demands, with the customer demands, with technology demands, and the way that all the behaviors are changing rapidly in this world, I want to give a shout out and kudos to Walmart for building this massive plane as they're flying to accommodate the customers' demands today. And you know, it's obvious that with the technological advances and AI and everything that's rolling in, that we're all kind of in this position together. And I encourage us all as a community to kind of continue to lean in together, just learn and talk and figure things out. And that's what we're here to do today as White Spider, wanting to kind of have conversation about some of these hidden opportunities, because as we see things moving and changing and evolving, there's a lot of just kind of the gears, the cogs in the wheel that are available, to where you can come in and you can fix some simple things, or if you're aware about new things that are coming down the pike, you can quickly adjust and take advantage of some of the opportunities that are going on. And my name is Eric Howerton. I'm the founder and chief growth officer at White Spider. And I have with me today Christy Pummel, and also have Paul Klaus, who both work at White Spider. Christy, if you could just introduce yourself very briefly and then pass it over to Paul, and we'll get kicked off.
Perfect. My name is Christine Pummel. I am a insights strategy and insights consultant here at White Spider. And previously, before working at White Spider, I worked at Walmart as an Omni associate merchant for almost 2 years in the furniture department. And Paul, I'll pass it over to you.
Cool. My name is Paul Klaus. I'm the VP for Strategic Initiatives here at White Spider. As part of that, I also lead our Content Excellence Program, which is our main offering aimed at making sure our clients have best-in-class content across Walmart, Style Guide compliant, and managing quality scores. And then I, like Christine, also in a past life, was an e-com merchant over at Walmart.com.
You know, Paul and Christine, it's been awesome to just be able to work with both of you, and among a lot of the others here, the team that have had that experience at Walmart, and bringing that understanding, basically how a retailer and the challenges retailers are facing in today's market. So we appreciate your contribution. And, you know, I think Christine, kind of moving over to the side of Walmart, and specifically Walmart Connect, right? We, you know, pay placement as far as just being able to accommodate that omni shopper is an important aspect to any seller or supplier's campaign at Walmart. And, you know, the ability that Walmart Connect has demonstrated, really, I mean, in my experience in the last couple of years, has been fantastic as they're introducing new things. But what are some of the big updates that Walmart Connect has already made just in this, you know, just in this year?
Yeah, earlier this year, Walmart Connect announced opening media spend to all items in a variation stack. So not just the hero or the base ID can be sponsored in grid on a search keyword, but it's actually been opened up to all variants within that stack. And it's really just dependent on more of the relevancy of the item. But hero IDs will still tend to serve in that space just because they have that existing performance. But it's really exciting that we're able to kind of lean in with WMC, especially with a lot of our supplier base, and really test and kind of find out how this, you know, new variant advertising, which is very new to Walmart, is kind of performing and how it's showing up on site.
So, not to put you on the spot, Christine, and I would never do that, especially right out of the gate of a webinar, but can you give a practical example, like just choose any item under the sun as a hero, and maybe a variant to that item, like what the customer would experience with this new way that that suppliers or sellers can advertise against those variants?
Yeah, the intent of it is that, let's say if a customer is searching the keyword of blonde hair dye, and it just happens that the hero item in a specific variant stack is the brown coloration. The intent of being able to serve an in-grid placement on blonde hair dye would to serve the blonde variation of that hero to the customer, really making it more, intention-based to what the customer is searching versus the products that they're seeing in the search grid. So that's the intent of this new variation advertising. Does it, with it being so new, does it always work as intended? No. But WMC has been really great partners, and they've really been leaning in, and we've really been able to test and see some wins in this space. And it's definitely somewhere that if you have a category that has variation styles like that, whether it's by size or by color, you really want to make sure you're in that space, because it is going to work, and it is going to be able to give a better customer experience out on Walmart.com.
Yeah, that customer experience, what I love about Walmart is, just kind of the principles and purpose and values that are still aligned with the founder, Mr. Sam Walton. And, he was always talking about the customer, right? And adapting to that customer. And I think that what we're seeing Walmart Connect doing is, especially in today's omni environment, the relevancy of search and a customer being able to find what they're looking for, in a split second because of the value that search brings is a big deal, right? To be able to, if you're wanting to find blonde hair dye, you want to see blonde hair dye, and you want to be able to click that, make a one click into that PDP and that results page and get to what you're looking for. And so that's obviously a fantastic basically response to that omni shopper. But for a supplier, what opportunity does that bring to a supplier specifically, and how can they make the most of that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, being able to serve your most relevant item to what a customer is looking for is just going to lean into a higher conversion and a higher sale potential for your product. So really being able to, serve the customer, one, in the way they want to shop, and two, the products that they're specifically looking for, is just going to increase your site performance and discoverability.
And I would imagine too, to be, as a supplier, to be able to lean in a little bit deeper into, right, as I've seen Walmart Connect is continuing to provide all these opportunities. I've noticed that suppliers or sellers that are leaning into all these new changes, it just really kind of continues to open up more and more doors to be more effective and get even closer to that customer that's looking for a specific product that supplier has, and especially on that variant side. Whereas before, it might have been hard to convert that customer at that moment looking for blonde, and maybe that hero wasn't able, they weren't able to advertise on that variant, but now they can. So that's a really big deal. So I would encourage all suppliers and sellers, as new updates happen in Walmart Connect, to lean in heavier on those, because you can keep getting more and more down into the weeds and details, and those little details are what's going to drive that efficiency and effectiveness of your investment at Walmart. And so, speaking of the changes, what else do you have any idea about what Walmart Connect might be coming out with later in this year?
Yes. So we know that sponsored videos on Walmart.com are in testing. They're still kind of seeing the, performance and how customers are responding to it. But they are in the very early stages here. There's no timeline yet on when it will be rolled out to the full Walmart community, Walmart supplier community. But so far, they've been about 30-second ad videos that an in-grid desktop would take up 4 spots. So it would take up almost an entire search grid row. 2 spots would be a video, and 2 spots would be a specific sponsored product that you're highlighting in that video. And it's 2 spots when you look at the app or on your phone version. So this is just a really, really cool and new, exciting way for customers to interact with your products, especially as we think about the omni in Walmart omni shopper. Online, you don't always technically get to feel and see and show the product the same way that customers get to physically touch it in store. So this is just kind of that next step of really being able to give the customer a new way to like see and interact with your product, either show how it's used or show how to use it online and be able to kind of reach a broader customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, videos are so powerful, right? I mean, I think that as human beings, we're all looking at videos as a way to really consume a lot of content all at once. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for suppliers and sellers, again, to lean into. And then, of course, as tech continues to accelerate, hosting servers and all that type of stuff to continue to be able to provide video at a faster speed, I just think that it's going to be a really fantastic way to attract and also increase that conversion of those potential customers and those shoppers at Walmart. That's an exciting release. So speaking of hidden opportunities on Walmart.com, third parties, first parties, sellers and suppliers, there are some third-party hidden opportunities, right, that are working closely with Walmart. How can suppliers unlock on some of those hidden opportunities? Like what is it, and why is it that important?
In terms of the buy box, it's really understanding and knowing, who is on your PDP, who is on your products page. And when we say products page, we mean the actual page online that your item has its images as well as its long description and short description, and knowing, if and when you're potentially losing that buy box to other sellers.
So from a supplier standpoint, right, as a 1P, staying tuned as to how what that buy box is looking like, right? And
Absolutely.
Do they own the buy box, or has somebody else taken ownership of that buy box? And so I think that, the first step to that is being aware of when you are losing the buy box, right?
Absolutely. The three pieces that go into the buy box are having the best retail, ensuring you have the fastest shipping speed, and that you have inventory for that item. If you're not winning all three of those buckets and you have other sellers on your PDP, then you are potentially going to lose your buy box.
Yeah. So, and if you're not aware that you've lost the buy box, and you're obviously losing sales, and that could be happening. I mean, these types of changes or this loss of buy box is not necessary. I mean, it could happen at any moment, at any time, correct?
Correct. I mean, it's something that can change from 1 minute to the next, just depending on, inventory flows and price fluctuations.
So we kind of have a phrase that we would call that situation, right? Is that what we call an invader into the buy box?
Correct.
That's what we call it at White Spider. I mean, terminology, we would say, hey, there's a buy box invader, and are there different types of invaders from your perspective?
There are. So we have fair invaders and then we have unfair invaders. The fair invaders are the ones that are using the same GTIN or UPC to set up their individual items. So when you set up an item on Walmart.com, all items have to have a GTIN or UPC. And basically it's a universal code recognized across retailers, and it's registered in the GS1 database. And so when you add that, correct GTIN or UPC, as a 1P suppliers, you also have marketplace suppliers who can add their products that they have with those same UPCs that are these same items, meaning that they'll all show up on the same product page on Walmart.com, and you'll fight it out in a sense for the buy box, and which seller, again, has the best retail, has inventory, and the fastest shipping speed is then going to win that buy box on that PDP. And that is a fair invader.
Okay, so Christy, let me hang out there for a second. So
okay.
a fair invader is actually, I mean, if we really drill down into the omni-channel perspective, right? I would say a fair invader is really also fair for a customer or for
Correct.
a shopper, right? Because then it's fair for Walmart, and it's fair for the brand as well. And I think to roll all that up is that if a customer or a shopper is trying to get an item, it's fair for them because they're able to still be able to discover and purchase that item at a retailer. It's fair for the retailer because they're able to fulfill that. And it's fair for a brand. I mean, like, so is what's your perspective on the fairness at the supplier level for that fair invader?
Yeah, the intent of that fair invader is that if, something happens with inventory from a 1P perspective, then the customer is still able to receive that product or order that product and have it and not have it just be out of stock and almost lose the sale and potentially, leave Walmart.com for that sale or that purchase. And so it's fair in the sense of we're doing the right thing for the customer and making sure that it's always available to them. And I think that suppliers should be looking at it that same way. It's almost in essence like continuing to have their item, be able to be discoverable on site, even if they're having inventory constraints from a 1P perspective. It's still being offered and sellable to a customer from a marketplace perspective.
I was chatting with an industry veteran the other day, and the reality to it is, I know that Walmart is always referred to its customer as customers, and they're not shoppers or customers, but you know what I mean, with the omni-channel real life scenario going on, I mean, it's almost any customer for any retailer is actually turned into a shopper. Because if you think about it, they're always, at 24/7, they got that cell phone. They have the ability, whether they're even in store or online, it doesn't matter. Their ability to research and discover products at other retailers, even if they're at a Walmart store in the aisle about to make a purchase, if they search for an item, they're actually still shopping. And so my point to all that is that the importance of a retailer like Walmart to be able to provide that option and fulfill that product and not lose that engagement of that shopper, aka customer, at that moment in time is a really big deal. And that's a tall order, because it's so expensive to try to get new customer or new shoppers into your doors, or doors online, virtually, or in store as well. So I think it's good for suppliers and sellers to have that perspective, because that helps bring in that partnership amidst all this evolution going on in retail today. So enough on that. Can you tell us a little bit about the unfair invader? Like, what is that?
Of course. The unfair invader is a seller that doesn't want to compete in the auction. They don't want to join that main product page and kind of fight out for the buy box. And so they're either using a different UPC or making up a UPC to add that same item, but have their own listing, have their own individual product page on Walmart.com, where they know that they will win that buy box. And that is an unfair invader. The PDP almost sometimes looks exactly like the original. They'll even sometimes steal the imagery and the content to create their own product page. But in essence, they're just trying to evade and circumvent the rules that Walmart's put in place to not have to be part of the competition or fight out for that auction of the buy box on the main PDP page.
So it's legitimately unfair.
Correct.
For everyone involved, right?
Yes.
I think the shopper can potentially lose on that one as well, right?
Absolutely.
And so to be able to monitor this buy box scenario and what's going on, I mean, is it wise to, as you watch that, to kind of start segmenting these unfair versus fair invaders, because you actually have two different paths you need to go to resolve whatever that invader is, right?
Correct. The solves for a fair invader could potentially be an inventory issue or a price issue, or a where is my inventory affecting my shipping speed issue. Where for an unfair invader, there are routes and ways you can take to get those listings removed from Walmart.com, and so there's a ticket process that can happen to be able to take those down from Walmart.com and either remove them completely or force them to enter the auction on that main PDP page.
Yeah, and from my experience, and I'm talking with the team too, like those unfair invaders, Walmart is just as eager to discover those folks and deal with that issue as well, right? So it's kind of
absolutely
yeah, I think that, that's something to keep in mind too, as a supplier seller. But, I think it's important too, as a supplier, like to know which one it is, right? Because I mean, the amount of information and time that everybody has is limited. And so if you can come to the table and it's legitimately an unfair invader and you deal with it in that process, or if it's a fair one, then it's kind of back on the supplier. Okay, what's going on within my circumstance so that I can rectify this so that I can win that buy box again.
Correct.
We have a quick question. What can you do when your 1P item is losing buy box to a 3P at a higher retail because they offer faster shipping than Walmart themselves are offering? Is there anything one could do on that?
That's a tough spot. That's when, depending on where your inventory is at, whether Walmart is housing it or you are housing it, I would look at speaking with your merchant and seeing potentially if you need to be in more distributed like fulfillment centers or in more DCs around the country to ensure a faster shipping speed to the customer so you can win the buybacks back. The other thing to think about too is it's your item's geo class. If it's in a local geo class, meaning that it will only ship to a customer within that same distribution area that your item is in the FCs, it may not ship then to a customer. Let's say if it's in a California FC, it's not going to ship to a customer that's on the East Coast if you're a local geo class. So that could be another conversation to have with your merchant about making sure that you're getting full FC or DC distribution so that you can ship faster to the customer.
Well, Christine, that was very complex, but very informative at the same time.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect because I think that, look, here's the reality, and it's something that we've been working in. I'll often tell folks, White Spider's gone an inch wide, mile deep. Actually, I didn't come up with that. It was actually a veteran supplier in the industry that said that. Makes a lot of sense, right? Because I think that the team has seen for many years, like just as this omni-channel accelerates, like what we're talking about in the beginning, it just opens up. There's a lot of moving parts to everything. And so a simple issue could actually have a very complex resolution to it. But we have to, as a community, stay engaged to work on those and get after them, because as we make these things better, it's better for that shopper, that customer that's out there who is trying to transact at Walmart, amidst all other retailers that are available to them. And so I think that that's just something to keep in mind. And as we talked about the invaders and the thing, and even the Walmart Connect side, Christine, do you have any recommendations on how these things can help suppliers, how they can use this information to improve their portfolio at Walmart? Do you have any high level recommendations on that?
Yeah, all in all, I would say just being able to lean into the changes that are coming, being able to be nimble to serve the customer when and where and how they want to purchase, it is going to be the key here in order to, increase your performance at Walmart.com. When I worked at Walmart, our always fun slogan was, the only constant is change. And that is just far too true across all the different segments of Walmart. And if you don't change with them or change quickly enough, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that, Christine. So, Paul, haven't even given you a chance to say a word other than hello to everybody earlier. So as we're talking about changes, right, I think that's a good segue, because what are you seeing as changes that have happened or that are coming up that might be providing hidden opportunities for suppliers and sellers?
Yeah, before we get into more on the content side of things, which is my specialty, I do want to touch on that variant advertising improvement. We get a lot of questions around variant strategy. Like, hey, I have all these items. Should they be in a variant group? Should they not be in a variant group? How do we want to put that together? Prior to this upgrade, a lot of our recommendations have kind of been dependent on the fact that you can't advertise other things that are in a variant stack. So obviously it depends on the product, depends on the supplier, what the correct strategy is going to be. But previously, if you had something like a travel size shampoo as well as a regular shampoo, probably smart not to variant those items. because it's not quite the same shopper. You know, then no one's going to be able to find your travel shampoo when they're looking for travel shampoo specifically. Now with these sorts of updates, if you wanted to variant that, it flips it around, right? Now, if you're advertising your travel shampoo, shoppers finding the travel shampoo, you've actually created an opportunity to upsell them to a higher price point, larger format item, because you can have that big full-size shampoo on the same PDP without losing out on the discoverability for the travel. So it was just something I was thinking of. We get tons of questions around what is a good variant strategy. And I think we also need to go back now and kind of rethink with these new capabilities. You can kind of have your cake and eat it too, which is before you really had to be making some trade-offs.
And I love that because, you know, as I'm sitting here thinking, Paul, as you're talking about that, you know, a lot of the online shopping experience is based around what types of keywords people are entering into a search field in Walmart.com or the app. And then therefore, what are those results? But as we know, in the keyword land, right, and especially as things continue to evolve, long tail keywords, right? Question based. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, medium tail keywords that are coming more and more important, because as you have a customer that is knowing exactly what they're looking for, kind of Christine's example, you know, blonde hair dye, or maybe best blonde hair dye or hair dye, you know, all kinds of different phrasings. This ability for variants to populate, especially on a paid search, you know, as you're exploring those different, what we would call shelves, being each keyword phrase. I mean, that's such a significant opportunity. It's almost like you got unleashed as a supplier to have even more assortment at Walmart, which gives you more, right?
Yeah, blonde hair dye is actually a really good example, in that having worked a little bit in the hair dye category. A lot of times people are searching for bleach. They're thinking, let me bleach my hair. And so if you have that varianted, you're never going to show up advertising brown hair dye, which is not a bleach, onto those sorts of specific tail search terms. So another really good example of like, this unlocks your ability to basically have cross-sell opportunities and still be discoverable everywhere you'd want to be for the client, for the shopper, I should say.
Absolutely. Love it. It's really cool. All right. So
yeah,
content side, like we bridge the gap over into content a little bit. What are you seeing as critical, you know, and that suppliers and sellers can really get involved in on the content side to continue to adapt to the change?
Yeah, no surprise, I'm sure, to anybody. Content quality scores are important, and they're a proxy for your content, right? Content's super important. You got to make sure you're giving your shopper enough information that they're confident. This is what I want. I understand what it does. I have no doubt. Let me go ahead and purchase this item. That is always a moving target at Walmart. We see continuously updates coming to, you know, new attributes being added to product types, new requirements around how many bullets, what's the minimum resolution on imagery, things like requiring VTT files now for videos where they didn't a little while back. Always a moving target. Usually more of a, you know, more than a trickle, but a bit of a stream. We do expect coming down the line this year, much more dramatic changes to the content system at Walmart. So Walmart has this gargantuan task in front of them of how do they manage this, you know, 100 million item catalog. And they've done a really good job of being very, very granular and very, very specific around like, hey, every single product type is going to get recommendations that shows up in your content quality scores. What we expect in the next, I would say 6 months to a year, is to see basically how those content quality scores work more or less redone. It ties in, I'm sure folks in the call will know that Walmart is launching a new spec sheet for item setup. They're moving away from category specific setup to product type specific setup, which is really an effort to further align everything with the content quality score system of how do we manage catalogs, what's important. Let's make sure we have a very clear list of attributes and information that we want on these pages. That's part of the same effort, is going to be taking a look by product type. What's important? Does the current quality scores reflect what is actually important to the shopper based on what Walmart knows and all the information they have available? And it's going to be a pretty dramatic change for for a lot of items. Some categories probably won't change too much, but the vast majority of them are going to see a lot of retuning and a lot of, hey, this attribute was not being part of your score before. Now we actually know it's really important, and we're updating our rubrics to reflect that. So that's a big change coming down the line.
So Paul, you know what I love about March 15th, 2023?
What do you love, Eric?
I love the fact that we're about, what, 6-7 years into, since 2015 really is when I kind of like marked the time of when Walmart really was, you know, caught the vision, seen it, and started working towards the vision of omnichannel, you know, in a more pronounced way, right? Not claiming what was talked about for many years beforehand, but the reality is that, man, what you're talking about, I can recall, and maybe you can as well, and Christine too, about to say, hey, we need more accurate and complete data and content. And here is a guide, suppliers and sellers, please follow this guide. And that was, in the beginning, that was a pretty big shift and change. I mean, there was, and for obvious reasons, some resistance, I think, on the seller and supplier side, because it was kind of a curveball compared to what they have normally been doing with Walmart. But now that we're in this time period, we've gone through a few years of kind of hearing this about how important it is. And really, at the end of the day, we're talking about a catalog, right? Walmart's catalog of attributes and content that are and that catalog is so significant to the customer shopping experience at Walmart, whether that's in store, on the app, drones, whatever it might be. Can we talk a little bit about, like, on the attribution side? So from a customer standpoint, why that's important, you mentioned discoverability and conversion, but on the algorithm standpoint, I mean, like, these fundamental parts of the attributes are so important, and the call for more granular information is so important. Why are those things so important from a robotic automative standpoint?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's to a human being, especially if you're on the supplier side or folks like us who I've maybe looked at this item 9,000 times. Like, I know everything about this item. There's nothing that surprises me.
Yeah.
You might ask yourself, for some of the attribution, like, why is this important? Why do I need to list what color the product is? There's a picture, it's very obvious what color the product is. And there's a couple different reasons why that's important. One is shopper facing, right? Is you want to have your information in multiple places on the page. You don't know where people are going to be looking. You want to make sure they have the information to convert. The part you're alluding to, which is equally important, if not maybe a little bit more important, is that all of these products are being served to shoppers online by machines, by algorithms, by robots that are making a determination in the split second that folks decide to search something of, hey, what do I know about these products? What do I know about this shopper? How do I connect them to something they're likely to buy based on my understanding of their intent? Those algorithms don't have the context that you or I, as a human being who's have lived our lives in the world, has, right? And so what the attributes do is they provide context.
Yeah.
They say, here is everything you need to know about this item to understand what kind of shopper is looking for this item. So that's super, super important. If you have an item with beautiful imagery, beautiful videos, great descriptions, the 9, but you have no attribution, the algorithm's not going to be able to take a pretty good guess at what that is. And so it's never really going to show all of that beautiful content you have to a shopper that it would then make an impact on. You really need to make sure you are setting up these items in the catalog so that they can be understood and interpreted by the systems that then connect them with the shoppers. And that actually expands out beyond Walmart, right? Like, it's the same thing for Google search. It's the same thing on other retailer platforms. If someone's searching in Google for a particular kind of item, your Walmart PDP could be showing up in that result, and that could be an additional source of traffic. If you do not have the information on that PDP for Google's robots to read and know what exactly is on the PDP, you won't show up. So yeah, it's super important. It's kind of a paradigm, I think, in a paradigm shift in thinking about like what is important to communicate with, because it's super important to communicate with the shopper. We've all known that forever. It's also getting more and more important to be communicating with the systems that serve your products to shoppers in an effective way.
You know, going back to my March 15th statement, what's also neat is that the suppliers and sellers and customers can tangibly experience and see what Walmart has done since that time, like physically, right? With the, with the pickup lanes, with drones, with, online grocery pickup, all that experience. And then of course, because of COVID, we saw what the market does, right? And what the market's able to do and how real search and pickup can be. And that, I think that accelerated things, a lot. From this new behavior, basically at the end of the day, it's just super convenient, right? I mean, I think that, and so as you get into more convenience, you're getting into more depth of that catalog and being able to serve that customer however they want, as fast as they want, wherever they want, et cetera. And so we can see how, I mean, if we really think about it, you can start seeing how these attributes and this product information is helping the customer find that product and transact as fast and as easily and seamless as possible. I think that in our conversation, Paul, what I like to always do is think a little bit of ahead of the game too, and automated, pickup surely is coming down the pike. I think that we're, in what other technologies, I mean, is Walmart going to be able to deliver to the customer so it's just faster and more seamless? So as we look down the road, I mean, the ability for, automation, robotics to go in, receive a pickup order, make changes, go pick it up from the house, or however those distribution methods work, is going to accelerate. So that the whole point to that is like suppliers, sellers, like what can you do to be a really great partner, with Walmart, the omni-channel retail leader. I think one thing is to really just lean into what does this catalog mean to Walmart? What does it mean to the customer? And then what does it mean to you as a seller and brand? And how can you lean into that, if you're not already, and stay in it as well? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's if you think about the whole omni-channel system from product discovery to delivery, it's increasingly getting more complex, and it's getting more complex in order to provide a better, more seamless experience for the shopper. If you don't lean into that complexity, someone else is going to, right? Like you need to make sure you are working to best utilize and to be best utilized as a good partner in the system to make sure you're getting the benefit. Because the train's not going to stop, right? Like the shopper is what's driving all of these decisions. We know what the shoppers want. Walmart's doing, as they always do, they're doing what the shopper wants. And that's not going to stop. And so it can be, like I kind of alluded to earlier, you can kind of look at these things and say, man, who on earth would need this information? And it's not a who, it's the system needs the information to be working. So best to lean into that for sure.
I think, Paul, like when I was young, if I would have just been working out every day continuously up until my age today, I would have a lot less problem to start working out just starting today, right? It's just, it's hard to get into the gym if you haven't ever been in the gym in a long time. I think it's the same. That's a good analogy for the way to handle the catalog as a seller and supplier. Like the more that you get into it, the easier it is to kind of stay adjusted to the new specs, the new calls for attributions, the new changes that Walmart Connect is rolling out, like to be that engaged partner and just really embrace and get into the weeds sooner the better. And that's going to kind of really exercise your muscles as a brand and seller to be a great partner, to be a great omni brand or seller.
Yeah, it's, I mean, we always recommend people look at it more of like a maintenance activity. than as a one-time project, right? If you're doing a one-time project, you might need to add 44 different attributes to 2,000 items. It's an enormous undertaking. All that content's got to get reviewed. Like you're talking, it's going to take you a year to really like nail all that down. If you're current, Walmart rolls out a change, they roll out a new attribute. Hey, we got one attribute, we got to add it across all these items. It can get knocked out in a week. Like soup to nuts, input the values, make sure it gets reviewed, make sure it's accurate. Great, now you're back to current. So it's like you said, if you get really out of shape, it's very difficult to get back into shape. It's much easier to just kind of be going to the gym every day and maybe every other day, take it a little bit easy and just staying in shape.
Right. And I think that, when we hear the Walmart content quality score, right? I mean, it's really, the score is a measurement of what the catalog needs. So I think that as a brand seller, like a good perspective is, hey, I'm always leaning in to know what the catalog needs. And then therefore I have the score at this item. And then so when the score drops or changes or adjusts, it's kind of like back to the invader issue that we were talking about earlier. You're able to notice that really quickly and then make adjustments to improve that score. And it's just, so I've experienced a lot of suppliers that are in a stressful scenario because their score is low, but it's been low, right? And so now they're trying to get in. They might have a catalog of 500 items or 100 items, whatever it might be, and they have low scores across the board. That's a daunting project, right? But to your point, if they just fixed all 500 of those items and got their score up, and then they didn't pay attention to it for 3 months or heck, even a week or 6 months, there could be more problems, and it becomes yet again another stressful circumstance.
Yeah. Right back where you started.
Right back where you started. And so I think that our point today is like, this thing's a moving target. It's constantly evolving and building in order to satisfy the customer and the robots with the right information to deliver these products and retain these customers. And then you as a brand and seller abiding with that vision, you'll be in a good spot and a good partnership. And Paul, we have a question come in that is, do you believe there's such thing as too much product information?
On the face of it, no. Obviously there's more nuance to that, right? I mean, I don't think there's too much attribution information. The more you can tell these systems about what this product is, as long as it's accurate, the better, right? The better they're going to be able to match you with the shopper who's looking for your item, who wants your item. In terms of the copy, the titles, and all of that, I don't think you should put 7 pages worth of information on your PDP. You probably want to zero in on stuff that's going to be more impactful than that. But in terms of the attribution, you really can't give too much information.
Hey, another question too, like kind of the back to the content score. How could a brand or supplier or seller see their content score change? How are they aware of that to begin with? So
it's definitely available in item 360. I'm a little rusty on item 360, so I'd have to look at the exact output, but one of the general downloads will give you the score. And then Walmart does have feedback tools in that system as well to kind of say, hey, here are where your issues are at. Can be clunky to use. I'll do a little shameless self-promotion, which is we also have direct access to all those scores and can tell you exactly, here's precisely what's wrong with every single item. And then if you want, we can also go all the way of, hey, here's what we think it should be. Does this look good to you, and help you get that fixed up? Yeah.
So self-serve option in SKU Ninja, our software, right, where they can see it and make their own adjustments, or they can leverage our services if they need to help resolve those. Kind of to your point, right?
Yeah.
All right. So Paul, and Christine, I mean, what are some of the things that you guys would leave our audience with? I mean, what are the pros and cons of some of these things that we've talked about today? How can a supplier brand get engaged and start to improve leaning in?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just getting involved, to Paul's point, making sure your items content is up to date, making sure you're taking part in, WMC and media placements, and really understanding your catalog and areas to improve. And then of course, the shameless plug again, working with companies like us, like White Spider. We have a lot of folks on our team that have past Walmart experience, past Walmart merchants. We really understand like the nuances of such a large company, and one that has so many moving parts and priorities shifting and changing from day to day and week to week. It's really important to have a strategy of how you're going to win on Walmart.com, and how you're going to get new to brand customers, or potentially steal share from competition.
I would say basically the same general message, which is lean in. The advertising, especially, these aren't separate things. None of these things are separate, right? Like, you get your content. If you get bad content, your advertising is not going to be effective. You get really, really good content. Super, super important to lean into that advertising and to understand how to do it in a smart way. Obviously, you can dump money into it and see no return. But for anybody who's wondering, just based off our experience, like, the paid media on site, it works, and it works really well when you do it smart. So if you can combine all of these things, it really is kind of like a 1 + 1 = 5. If they're all working together in concert, and you've leaned into every aspect of this omni-channel system, you end up in a much greater place than any of the individual things are going to get you to.
And I would piggyback on that real fast before you jump in, Eric. And say, the paid media is such a huge strategy, but improving and having an organic strategy and improving your organic performance is just going to help make your paid media returns increase.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back and forth, right? I mean, they literally do complement each other. I mean,
Correct.
we've seen clients that have leveraged a great paid media program that helps their discoverability organically on the, because all things roll up. I mean, at the end of the day, the way that what I think is genius in a way that helps Walmart's designed the system is that, I mean, it's still focused on that customer experience, right? What is that relevancy? If I'm typing in whatever keyword or keyword phrase, or if I'm navigating, how am I finding items that I want to purchase? And these are the exact right items, and they're in stock, and they're the EDLP, right? Promise that Walmart has to its customers, right? And can it get to you in the most convenient way? And can you pick it up? Can you have it delivered? There's all those things. It's a very dynamic engine that's going. I think, you both made a really good point. Lean in all things, and not working in silos. And one thing we didn't even mention, though, as part of this, I think is another testament that Walmart is doing to improve this and help brands and suppliers and sellers be successful in this crazy omnichannel space is, with the release of Luminate, and being able to have more visibility into the customer behaviors and all the data that brands need to make decisions. And, that's just yet another exciting release and tool. And so I don't know, it's been really cool. If anybody's on the webinar today that's been around for a while, I mean, if you rewound, go back 7-10 years ago, I mean, just take a pause and think about the ad opportunities, the data opportunities, the ability to understand the catalog and all those types of things. And even heck, the digital side of Walmart in of itself, the limitations back then compared to where we're at today is just, it's quite impressive, the moves that have been made. So we got a couple more minutes for some more questions. And there's one that kind of strikes me, because I do kind of discuss this on a frequent basis, but what is Walmart looking for in a supplier? And I think that's a fantastic question. Number one, I think that, and Christine and Paul, please jump in anytime, but I think number one is they're looking for suppliers or sellers that are basically asking that question, number one, because in my experience, and both of y'all being past merchants, would love to hear your perspective on this, but like the reality is that Walmart is a business that's full of people, just like brands are full of people, just like White Spider's full of people. It's a company, it's an entity. You got a lot of human beings that are working hard, trying to make things happen and adjusting to the advancements that are going on. So I think that we're all in the same boat. And as we're busy, everyone's busy, so is Walmart, the merchant teams, the lab teams, the ad teams, everybody's super busy. And so to have a partnership with a brand or seller that can understand where Walmart is trying to get to from their vision of omnichannel and what they're staying really attuned to that customer and the moves that they make, to have a brand and supplier that comes to the table and says, hey, you know what? I get it. I'm going to partner with you in this journey to give the best attributes on the planet to Walmart, to give the best content on the planet to Walmart, to invest in the retail media network at Walmart, to invest with the data and understanding that customer and these behaviors, you know, to product changes, to new product launches, to assortment increase. You know, my catalog is at Walmart. Like, I'm leaned in, you know, as a brand and supplier. You know, I think is a really great second step beyond asking that question to your, you know, to the merchant or to the Walmart teams. Do y'all have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say partnership's definitely the key word of what, you know, Walmart merchants are looking for. Having a supplier come to the merchant, you know, being prepared, you know, asking questions, knowing what's going on with new changes from the media side to the Illuminate side to their specific category and strategy side, and coming prepared to like lean in to the changes or to, you know, twists or turns that happen within a category, is going to be huge for a supplier to really get engagement and get a merchant excited. It's really easy for, you know, merchants to have meetings with suppliers and the supplier asks them, you know, for everything. And, you know, there really is a give and take in that relationship, and suppliers need to come prepared.
Yeah, I think that, you know, from my experience, what I've seen is, as a brand or seller supplier with Walmart, to get hit with, like, let's just zero in on quality scores. Paul, I know you've seen it. If I got, say, 10 items at Walmart, right, and I have a quality score of 60 or 70% average, to me as a brand, I'm like, you know, that can be very frustrating, stressful, and then I'm in a mad dash and it feels, you know, I mean, it's a challenge, right? It's an interruption and a disruption into my daily efforts in business. But I would also advocate on the merchant and Walmart side too, to have items in the catalog that are as well low on the quality score, right? It's, you know, as a merchant, there's a lot of things you're dealing with, a lot of moving pieces, and then to have a catalog that has a low quality score, or items within the catalog that are low. And these aren't really surprises to anybody. I mean, let's all be honest with ourselves. I mean, even Walmart, right? And everybody, like, the quality score has been around for a number of years. It does continue to adapt and change, and we should expect that it will continue to do so. But I mean, we should all be striving to a higher quality score, you know, better attributes.
Yeah, it's the same theme that Christine was hitting on of partnership. Walmart's going to keep changing things on you, but they're changing things because they want to sell more units, and suppliers want to sell more units too. So it's kind of that simple. Like, help them help you, right?
Yep. It's the win, right, for everybody. So I think, man, this has been great. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. Thank you for the insights and for the perspective. You know, we're always here available, folks, you know, brands and suppliers, Walmart, everybody, you know, to help and to come alongside you and answer questions. I know that there's been a couple more questions that have come through, and if you have any more, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer them directly.